In this video lesson, I want to talk about jazz, snare, and bass drum comping. Now these exercises are a little bit tricky, so if you haven't already, I would suggest going back to the video lessons where I talk about jazz snare drum comping and jazz bass drum comping individually. Then you can come back to these and they'll probably be a whole lot easier for you. Now, if you look at exercise number 1 in the sheet music provided, what you're going to notice is that this beat is a little bit challenging, but with a little bit of practice, you'll totally get it. Jazz ride cymbal pattern, hi-hat on 2 and 4. Okay? Now, if we take a look, bass drum is on the 1, snare drum is on the let of 1, bass drum is on the let of 2, snare drum's on the 3, bass drum's on the let of 3, snare drum's on the trip of 4. So if you're finding this one's a little bit challenging, you can probably move forward to number 2, but give it a shot. It's just going to make all the rest of these other beats so much easier. Here's number 1. Exercise 2 is nice and easy. Bass drum on 1 and 3. The snare drum is on the triplet of 3. Watch this one. Now if you look at exercise number 3, you might go, whoa, this one looks pretty crazy. It's not really, because there's some nice consistency. The bass drum is being played on the let, or the last triplet of every beat. Also, the snare drum is on the first 2 triplets of beat 1, first 2 triplets of beat 3. It's not really that tough. Watch this. You'll notice that I'm playing all of these exercises with a metronome, okay? Now in number 4, this one's broken up a little bit, okay? So if you need to play it a little bit slower than I'm doing it, that's fine. Okay, so we've got the bass drum on the let of 1, snare's on 2. Then the next bass drum is on the 3 and also on the let of 3. Now there's a snare drum on the second triplet of beat 3 and also on beat 4. Check this one out. Exercise number 5 is fun to practice. It's a little bit challenging, but like I said, a good challenge in life hasn't hurt anybody. Take a look close, you'll notice that every single 8th note triplet receives either a snare or a bass drum. Now, with exercise number 5, we're starting with a snare, then playing a bass drum, then a snare, then a bass drum. It's constant all the way through. Check out this fun little groove. Number 6 is a great groove. Okay, now this one requires a little bit of independence, but then so have the other ones we've been doing. Look close, you'll notice that we have a bass drum on the trip of beat 1. Then we have a snare drum on the trip of beat 2, a bass drum on the trip of beat 3, and the last 2 snare drums on the triplet of 4. Here we go. Now this concludes the section of jazz, snare, and bass drum comping. Now you might have watched some of these and went, wow, those seem really tough. But the nice thing is maybe set some of these as a long-term goal. If you're not ready for them yet, maybe I would say don't put them aside. Just try playing the bass drum and the snare, and then go back and add the ride cymbal and the hi-hat. So whenever you're working on four-way coordination, it's almost like you got to make two things work together and then start adding in new instruments. You'll be amazed at how quick your progress will come. Have fun.